Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmadu wa nasalli ala Rasul Kareem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we recorded this dars, but we missed a section of it. So I'll read it again, inshallah. In the masjid, the dars was done. Just put for the online recording for those who do listen online. Inshallah ta'ala will reread the section from the book. Permissibility of lowly earnings. The legal position of the vast majority of the jurisprudence, Jumhur al-Fuqaha, Rahimahullah, is that all the different types of earnings are the same with respect to permissibility. I mean, all different types of jobs, regardless of what we think is a higher job or a lower job. Obviously, halal jobs we're talking about. So whatever, some people might look down at a certain profession or a trade, but in reality, all jobs are treated Islamically as permissible in respect to them being allowed or permissible in Islam. Some of the ascetics said it is not allowed to undertake earnings that are considered to be lowly in the custom of the people, in the urf of nas, except when in dire circumstances. Due to the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, it is not for the believer to demean himself. The Prophet ﷺ says, verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes noble things and he dislikes inferior things. The inferior is that which demeans a person due to its baseness, its khissa, like it's so lowly and not befitting the respect or the self-respect of a person that he would take when he has an alternative. Our argument, hujjah for that, is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. So, he's giving a counter argument that the permissibility of lower earnings, like as a counter argument to this sort of attitude, is that among the sins, obviously not the attitude of the hadith themselves, not explicitly about earnings. They're a general principle of life, but some of these ascetics have applied this to the type of job that you take. So he's now doing the counter. Among the sins are sins that cannot be expiated. So there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, even by fasting and prayer. And it was said to him, and what will expiate them, O Rasulullah? He said, vexations, that are humum, like worries in earning a livelihood, ma'isha. Like there are sins that your salat and fasting will not make up for it, like will not wash those sins, will not do kafara or expiation of the sins. But something that can do expiation of such sins. So salat is not high enough and fasting is not high enough to forgive those sins. But worrying in getting a livelihood is such a thing that Allah tests you with and you're stressed out about it, that actually will forgive those sins even. The Prophet ﷺ says, seeking the permissible is like the battling of the warriors. Whoever retires in the evening, worn out, right, in seeking the permissible, retired as one who is forgiven. The Prophet ﷺ says, the best of actions is earning to provide for dependents, without differentiating between the various types of earnings. Even if there was nothing in earning except abstinence and independence from asking su'al, it would have been recommended for the Prophet ﷺ said, asking is the worst resort of the servant, right? Su'al akhiru kasb al-abd. And that is, he remains in his debasement until the day of resurrection. Allah save us from that. The Prophet ﷺ said to Hakim bin Hizam radiallahu anhu, or he said to someone else, an earning, and the narrator was not sure was it him or somebody else that he said to him, an earning in which there is diminishment in status is better for you than that you ask for people from people, regardless of whether they give you or refuse you. So asking people to give you something, Rasulullah ﷺ is giving this companion advice that asking people is taking a lowly profession. There's nothing wrong with that if he saves you from asking people or begging of people. Moreover, the disparagement in the custom of the people is not connected to earning as such, but to betrayal, trust, khiyana, breaking promise, perjury, and the means of miserliness. So now another argument is being presented, which is that the disparagement, madamma, is not due to, in worldly earnings, is not to do with lowness of the profession is the type of other sins that you do. So, for example, like cheating people, or like you're doing a certain business and you're lying in that business, or you are breaking promises in the business, or you are taking false oaths, like you're doing business, but the tijara or business or some sort of trade, and in that you have to lie and give false testimony, or that after earning that you don't spend, like you're stingy with the money, right? And you're not easy in your transactions, as is encouraged in Deen. So he's giving these arguments, counter arguments, that no, the job, it doesn't matter what the job is, as long as it has good traits of the person and the way he conducts himself in a good way. And we see that today as well. Like I'm not sure about other countries, but here in Australia, where a person might be, let's say, a tradesman, right? And he might not have a lot of worldly education degrees to his name, but then he does the job well, right? He's honest in his trade, doesn't cheat the customer. He's highly regarded by the people. He will not be considered, like, this may be different from place to place, but this person will be considered as an honest, and he will be highly regarded by the people because of his, or even a simple shopkeeper or some other trade where the person thing. And then you'll have the opposite as well in the same profession. A person, and I'll give you an extreme examples. So a person, he's a lawyer, but he's known to be a liar in his profession. Now, to become a lawyer here, you have to have very good education. You'll have to get very high marks in school, and then enter into one of the universities that offers law. Despite all of that, he'll be looked down upon because the way he conducts himself. And the way he, all the haram things and all the inappropriate things that he has to do or say for his profession. But that's not the case for everybody. That's different from person to person. That may differ. So someone can have on their parent a lowly profession, but his earning can be one of his earnings is fully halal. But then the way he conducts himself, he's highly regarded in the hearts of the people, considered an honest person, a good person. So 18 types of earnings. Earnings are of 4 types: hired employment, ijara; commerce, tijara; agriculture, zira'a; and craftsmanship, sina'a. All these are equally permissible according to the vast majority of the jurisprudence, Rahimahullah. So meaning that although majority say these all are equally permissible, but according to some might regard one better over the other. Number 19, agriculture is not at all reprehensible, right? So there must be a view that some people consider reprehensible, while while others view it some majority view it otherwise. Some said that agriculture is reprehensible, due to which has been narrated that the Prophet ﷺ saw something of the implements of the ploughing in the house of the people. And he said, none of these enter a house of people except that they become debased. The Prophet ﷺ humiliated. They become, it's a disgrace for the person. The tools of farming. The Prophet ﷺ was asked about the statement of Allah, the grace of, if you obeyed those who scoff, they would turn you back on your heels. Is it about ta'arrub? That is, he said no, but it's about agriculture. Ta'arrub is dwelling in the desert, sukn al-badiyah, and abandoning immigration, leaving hijrah. So one is a Bedouin who moves around with his livestock, goes from one pasture to another pasture. No, zira'a, he says that those who turn back on the heels, referring to the ones who stick to their agriculture. Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu said, when you buy and sell on credit and pursue the tails of oxen, right, adnab al-baqar, you shall become so lowly until you are coveted by your enemies. Yutma fikum. Our argument for this is that it's been narrated that the Prophet ﷺ farmed in al-Jurf. The Prophet ﷺ, so the counter to this is farming is not bad. The Rasul had a farm in Jurf. The Prophet ﷺ said, seek sustenance in the bowels of the earth, meaning seek sustenance in farming. The Prophet ﷺ also says the farmer, azari, is trading with his Lord. He's doing tijara with his Lord. The Prophet ﷺ used to own fadak and a share, saham in Khaybar, meaning, and his food, like his daily bread, used to come towards the end of his lifetime from there. Umar radiallahu anhu used to own a piece of land in Khaybar called Tamgha. Ibn Masud al-Hasan ibn Ali and Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu also used to own agricultural landers, Mazari and Sawad. The farm, so Sawad means the Sawad of Iraq. The term Sawad refers to every place in which there are farms and villages on tour. So they had these, because of jihad, lands fell to their, the conquest came to them. So they farmed those lands and paid their land tax, the kharaj. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu used to have farmlands in Asawad and other places. The interpretation of the narration tradition in that they refer to a situation when all the people became preoccupied with agriculture and turn away from fighting in the path of Allah, that is al-jihad. So much so their enemies covet them. Like you become like just farmers only, and to the point that the enemies feel like they can take advantage of you. All this meaning is narrated in the previously mentioned hadith of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, who said, and you abstain from fighting in the path of Allah, and you become debased until you're coveted by your enemies. But as for those, when some of them occupy themselves with jihad and some with farming, then in the vocation of the farmer there is assistance for the fighter, while in the vocation of the fighter there is defense for the farmer. The Prophet ﷺ says, the believers are as a building, part of which fortified. They're like one building, and they support, like the bricks support each other. They support each other by their various professions and responsibilities they've taken. And the last section for today, in commerce, is commerce, tijara, trading, business, better than zira'a, farming? Thereafter, our teachers, Mashaykh Rahimahullah, disagree on the relative merits of commerce and farming. Some of them say that commerce is superior because of the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and others traveling the land seeking the bounty of Allah, and others fighting the sake of Allah. The meaning of traveling the land is commerce, and Allah gives precedence to it in the mention over jihad, which is the hump peak of the religion, Sanamuddin, and the way of the messengers, Sunnatul Mursaleen. Because of this, Umar radiallahu anhu said, indeed that I die between the flanks of my camel, while traveling the land seeking the bounty of Allah, is more to my liking than to be killed fighting for the sake of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ says, trustworthy merchant is with the noble, virtuous people on a day of resurrection. Most of our scholars, rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy on them, are the view that farming is superior to commerce because of wider benefit. For through the vocation of farming is produced that which a person fortifies his backbone and derives strength to render obedience to Allah. The Prophet, about the food, because you farm food, then farming, you can feed yourself and you can worship Allah. And your body is physically strong, you can do more worship. And the Prophet ﷺ also said, the best of the people are he who is most beneficial, right? More beneficial to other people. Hence, to be occupied with that which is more generally superior is beneficial, is superior. Farming is also better because charitable giving, sadaqah in farming, is also more manifest. For the people, the animals, the birds, inevitably all partake of what is earned by the farmer, and all that is counted as charity for him. The Prophet ﷺ said, never does a Muslim plant a tree and a person or an animal or a bird partakes of it, except that it becomes charity. And in narration, riwayah, what the afia eat of it become for him a charity. The afia are birds that go around searching for their sustenance and return to their nests. If you have a tree, a fruit tree, and animals eat from it or birds eat from it, that food is written for you as a sadaqah in your account. When it is a custom of the people to belittle earning which is lacking charitable giving, like the vocation of weaving, even though it partakes of assisting in the performance of the prayer, then we know that earning which involves more charitable giving is superior. So how do you identify which job is better? Like which profession is better? So you give another job, which is weaving, right? And weaving, you weave clothes in which people pray. You weave the prayer mats or whatever else that's needed for prayer, right? Although you don't need a prayer mat, but people use it. But clothing, definitely, because that covers awra, which is a compulsory part of prayer. So the more that the job can have sadaqah built into it, the more the common good, right, is built into it, then that profession job, which is a form of livelihood, is more rewarded and is considered superior. As for the interpretation of what have been commented ta'alluq with regards to the fact that has been narrated from Makhul and Mujahid radiallahu anhum, that the meaning of traveling the land refers to quest for knowledge. So as the verse of the Quran mentioned traveling in the land, so some have interpreted as, or the main interpretation is that seeking livelihood, right? Traveling from country to country, trading and so forth. The quest for earning is obligatory. So they've interpreted, some of the tabi'een interpreted as seeking knowledge. The quest for earning is obligatory, just as the quest for knowledge is obligatory. Therefore, the comparison of this seeking earnings with that seeking knowledge is proof that the principle, the quest for knowledge is obligatory, is higher in rank than the other. Inshallah, the next section that we'll go through is the section on seeking knowledge. So now there's sort of like a, you could say, a sharp turn is made. Everything till now, the last 70 pages we've been reading is referring to actual livelihood, earning halal, the rewards of it, all the arguments against earning livelihood in Islam that people have presented, and Imam Muhammad and Imam Sarakhsi by extension have refuted these arguments as not part of deen and as incorrect understanding of deen. Now he takes another part, which is seeking of knowledge, and that the hadith and so forth in comparison, because knowledge requires someone to sacrifice, and it's a vocation, right? It's a way of life that a person dedicate their life to knowledge, and in that a price is paid. In seeking knowledge, there's a price, a worldly price that is paid, and so there's a comparison made. Which one is better now? And some discussion will be there as well, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding.